We don't know how that works. All I have is 2 years I worked to make this perfect cup of yogurt. And I think what happened is that not knowing became extreme advantage. Mm-hmm. So we dare to try, really, we dare to try. I would say back to this place is all I had was, how do I grow this business and not to become someone who I grow up hating?
Yeah.
That was the only thing I had. Nothing else I didn't know. But this, I didn't know I could have an idea on brands. I didn't know I could have an idea on, I don't know, leading 4 people or 20 people or 100 people later or 1,000 people. I didn't know I could create an organization. I didn't know later on I could figure out to make a sense out of this journey. It has been alone with my colleagues and team members up in that little town. The only access I had was the farmers, factory workers, and people in that community until 2012. So I wish I had an access. I wish I knew some people. I wish it but I didn't have a clear plan. I really didn't.
Right.
All I was following is my gut feelings.
Right. And your feeling was to make yogurt the way you did growing up, the way you had it growing up.
Yeah.
And it was a challenge for the American palate, let's say, that it was not what was stocked on the shelves in the grocery stores. It's not what the yogurt industry was producing. Obviously, this big, huge plant that you were able to purchase for less than $1 million.
Yep.
You walk in, there's 4 or 5.
Extremely challenging. It's the playground for big companies. We have a factory who's been there for a long, long time and shut down. We don't know if we can turn it back on. We are 4 people. I mean, the challenges are enormously big. Our chances of success is very, very tiny. What I'm betting on the people I saw, how they were working so hard closing that factory. And I came back to that motion of, if they work so hard to close this factory, what would they do if we turn it back on? And then the magic started. I think through this journey, what I have seen in that place, every penny. I ran the company until it was $600 million in QuickBooks. I'm not kidding. I don't know if anybody here from the QuickBooks, but we sold $600 million worth of yogurt on QuickBooks. I wanted to keep everything extremely simple. And I did not want to make any mistakes. I did not want to make anything that I don't understand. And I don't know a lot of things at the time. I just wanted to understand everything I do in a very, very fast way until it gets so complicated. And we had no investors, we had no board, we had nothing. So we would make decisions very fast. We understand how much money we have. We knew what to do with this. We kept it extremely simple. We asked advice from anyone, but nobody's there to give us advice, but anyway, so I had to understand. So basically, it was Italian mom and pop store. That's how I run the whole thing. Now it's complicated, I don't understand everything about it. So when we made a little bit of money, Cassie said there is no field, and that was my opportunity. The first time since we started this journey is an opportunity to do something. And I said, Cassie, we're not just gonna clean up this grass and put some lines. I remember I lived in Cooperstown, and I remember how kids were so excited about baseball. I don't understand the damn game. I grew up. By 2012, we were $1 billion in sales. I brought zero money from outside. I did not get 1 penny from outside, no fundraising. And all is done with profitability. So for that reason, I stayed independent. I never answered private equity VC guys' phone calls because I didn't have to. And every penny I made, I built factories. that old factory became one of the largest factory in the US, and I built one of the largest factory in the world in Idaho with, $500, $600, $700 million. The reason I'm saying is we have to be master on how to run the business to make profits so we can stay true to our mission, our reasoning of starting all this. So I've never run a company, I've never studied in university, I never had network on people who had done this. So for me, it was wild, wild world or west, whatever you call it. So I had to figure out things on the way. But what I did is, I had one thing. Kraft and General Mills and all the others did not matter to us anymore.
You're not thinking about them.
We never thought about them. We just wanted to think about what we were doing every single day. The only thing that matters to me, how did their yogurt cup looked, and how was my yogurt like. I mean, I would taste their yogurt. And every time I eat them, I say, okay, we're good, still good now. We can, they're still sleeping, we can still go. That kind of, but I never pay attention to them. I still don't know how they run their companies. I still don't. So sometimes not knowing is a blessing, really is.
When you have to balance what you do to grow the business, what you do for your other stakeholders, for your employees, for the community, for your customers, as you get bigger, does that get harder?
Well, very good question. Yes, it gets harder, but at the same time, it gets easier.
So what gets harder, what gets easier?
So it gets harder because you have more people and you get a lot of people coming in, and you have to keep the culture and the mission and the company's direction in the right direction and going in the right direction. And early on, I would be like a... The first cup of yogurt came out of that plant in October 2007, the first Chobani.
When you bought the plant, did you know you wanted to do yogurt?
No.
And so how did you have that idea?
I started going into the stores.
So you knew you had a plant to make something.
But I didn't know. I knew... I knew America did not have good yogurt as a consumer. Because I couldn't find any yogurt. In Turkey, I mean, we eat shitload of yogurt. I mean, we eat a lot of yogurt. And it's good, and everybody has it. But you live in upstate New York, you go to stores, there's these cups. You don't know if they're yogurts or the candy or whatever the hell they are. And as a consumer, as someone who wants to eat, I couldn't find it. So I did think that yogurt needed, but there was this thing, people were saying that Americans will not eat yogurt unless it's very sweet. They don't like texture, they don't like acidity, they don't like this, they don't like that. And when I was going to New York, I would go to stores like Whole Foods or specialty stores and all those places, and I was seeing these, people were buying this yogurt like from Greece, from other places. And I would wait and ask them, like, people like me, I understand. But people like you, why are you buying this? And, and I would ask them, why are you buying this? And then it turned out that I come to this understanding that it's not that Americans would not eat good yogurt, it just doesn't exist. And the manufacturers, they really believe in this lie, even though they knew it was a lie, because it was cheaper to make it. I was completely convinced. The question was, how do I make this? Because I don't want to make where the Kraft made it. Kraft made the shit, the Breyers. I wanted to make the real one. That meant I needed to have a separator, I needed to have a different filler,
the factory in many ways. And so you had to make a strategic decision. And this is what, for somebody with no business training, and I want our audience to appreciate this, but you turned down initial sales that wanted to put it into specialty stores that was kind of $5 a cup, priced at $4 or $5 a cup. And you said, no, I want to be on the dairy aisle for about $1.50 a cup, which is a little bit higher than regular. But you held out for a startup to say, I'm going to turn sales down because I want to hold out for the big retailer, and I'm not going to be pigeonholed into a specialty store. How hard was that to actually turn down sales?
And it was not I would sell more on a dairy aisle That was not the reason. I was just angry that you had to be in a big city and a fancy store, and you had to have certain kind of income to be able to buy a cup of yogurt. Like, why is that has to be a representation of your status? Why am I a factory worker or a teacher couldn't just get a simple cup of yogurt? And that's what I grew up. I mean, we didn't have much, but at least we could get a yogurt or tomato or pomegranate and a little bit of honey and a good tasting bread. So that was my thing, that this natural organic, I have nothing against it, but if it's going to separate people having access to it, I'm against it. So it was a push, and some big retailers said, well, if you don't let us put it in there, we're not gonna buy it. But God bless, Carl O'Brien, who is my first sale guy, he was this, unstoppable, convincing person. And he convinced, in the first couple of stores that came in, they proved that these things work, and then that was it.
That's great. Now, you described yourself, when we saw it in the videos, you've described yourself as just a farmer, but you're also
a specific foil on top of it for strawberry and blueberry because it's not generic like it was before, and I wanted to look nice. These were the details, I mean, every single details like this, I spent time on. Once I launched it, the first customer was a kosher store in Long Island, a very small store. The second customer was ShopRite in New Jersey. And the guys were asking $50,000 for each cup to be in the shelf. They call it slaughter fee. Shelf, I don't have the money. So if I put 5 of the flavors in there, and this is early 2008, it will cost me $200,000, $300,000, and I don't have that kind of money. And we said, can you charge us as you sell? Once we sell it, we can charge every week so much of it. And the guy said, what if it doesn't sell? How am I going to get my money? We said, we're going to give you the factory if you don't. And the guy said, is this real? I said, yeah. What am I going to do with the old factory? I said, I don't know. Like, I'm trying to find a solution here. And that buyer, I am still very good friend with that buyer. He let me put the cup in there. And a week later, he called me. A week or 2 weeks later, he called me back and he said, I don't know what you're putting into these cups. I cannot keep it in the shelf. I have never seen anything like this. That was the moment. That's good and bad. That was the moment I realized that I really overdid this. And that was the moment I realized that this was not going to be about making. This was not going to be about selling, because selling is going to be easier now. This is going to be about if I can make it enough. And that was the time I decided that I had to be in the factory for a while, which I had been for the last 2 years before that, and I knew I was going to be staying in the factory.
And when you launched, how many team members?
When you act as a business, you have this consciousness of not only I'm not going to damage my stakeholder, I'm going to elevate my stakeholder. I'm going to make sure that everybody benefits from this. And that happens from the early on. And that was the lucky for us that we started that way, that it's not in the side way, it's actually embedded what you do every single day.
So when you went to your second factory, most companies, they look at cities to move and they ask, okay, I'll pick the city based on who can give me the best deal. What did you ask when you went?
What can I do in this community? Is this a community I can be?
What did you go meet with the commissioners or the mayor? How did it work? You literally asked.
Well, I wanted to build a second plant, and we knew it was going to be on the West Coast. We went to California, Utah, Arizona, a couple other states, and they said, you need to stop by in Idaho as well. I said, Idaho? Idaho. Okay. So we went to Idaho, and the governor, said hi. I mean, he has a big cowboy hat and boots, and you know, it says hi to me in Turkish. And I spent like 3 days there, went to different communities. It was just this feeling. I knew this was a small community. Unemployment was very high, and the only industry they had was the potatoes. But I could understand this is the people I can work with. We can be part of this community. By the time I left, I told my team, this is where we're going to build. I could feel home, and I knew it because in the human qualities, you don't make mistakes. It doesn't matter where the port is.
So it didn't feel like a risk to go to Idaho?
It would if you look at from the different perspective. From my perspective, it did not look like a risk. Because I shook hands, I looked at the people, I spoke to the farmers, I looked at the contractors, I look at the government, local government and state government. I said, I'm safe here. These people are human, these people are real, and I trust their handshake. And they always keep their words when they shake hands. The government said, we will always going to be faster than you. The farmers said, I will always get you a milk. The university that said, I will work with you to train the workers. And we didn't have contract, we shook hands. And not one time we had issues. So Idaho today, what happened in Twin Falls? Twin Falls today is, in 5 years, no city in the country have changed this much ever. I mean, it's a total transformation. Idaho is the fastest growing economy. Stay involved and connected to our communities. This is the time that we have to shine, and these are the dark days, and we have to be a light. And I remember saying this to our team and say, well, there are two choices we have. One is we will just survive through this, or we're going to transform. And we're going to look back and we're going to say, these amazing things happen during COVID. We transformed during the COVID. We managed to change this during COVID. I learned how to play guitar during COVID. I quit smoking during COVID. I launched this product during COVID. I fixed child hunger during COVID. Whatever that is, because we don't ask a catastrophe, a trouble like this to happen. But when that happens, because I remember, you don't want your plant to close in South Edmiston. But when that closed, it's an opportunity to make it better than ever before. And I've seen it, and it happened. So we don't want this type of troubles to come. But when we come out of, you know, the investors and all that kind of stuff, so there's a challenge that goes in there. So in the end, if the culture is real, if the company's mission and everything is real, these kind of answers becomes very easy for you. Of course, I'm going to defend the integrity of the company and mine, and when somebody says something stupid, and I'm going to go after, because that's what I do if they do it to my daughter or my son or myself. If you stay human, the answers are very easy. The second part is when you're real, and if it comes from the real reason, you really don't lose anything, because even the people who don't like you, they like that you're real. And so the third thing is if the company is aligned. So every time I'm worried about is if I come out and say something or do something, is this real in the company? Everybody in the company.
With a purpose-led approach to your company, you call yourself the anti-CEO. Describe that for us, and how has that been received?
I go back to a child, me, growing up in the small village next to Euphrates River, who didn't like the CEOs that I saw from that distance. And came back and said, business is good. Business platform is the most powerful platform. But yet, we cannot continue the way that we have been continuing seeing it. The whole purpose of business is to make money for the shareholder. That idea does not work anymore. And which was not the idea early days, just changed along the way. And what I wanted to show is when you are purpose-driven, when you are taking care of your people, when you are aware of your community, when you know that every act that you make every single day in business impacts somebody in negative and positive, and you're aware of it and you try to make it in a positive way. And when you make sure that it's embedded in every act of your business every single day, and everybody, not only just check the box, you're faster, you're more innovative, you're more profitable, and you represent tomorrow's companies. And that is the anti-CEO.